where our dreams come alive.
Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to write leaderboards and connect them in the script. If your script is already set up for leaderboards, you're going to learn how to make the variables to connect in the same script. So for example, in this video, I have a trash can with the garbage bag, and if I throw it in there, I want to get points. Now if I open up the script, you'll see that all's here is playing sound and playing effects. Now, for me to be able to track points, I'm going to show you how to do that. So over here, where it says values, we're going to click that, and we want to drag over set persistent variable, and we want to drag over set world leaderboard. Right here, where it says the 0 on the first line, we can delete that one. We're going to go over to our operators tab, and we need the plus to replace that 0. Now we're going to go back to values, and this get persistent variable will go in A. We can scroll down and grab a number input and put it in B. And we can change that to a 1. That's going to be where the 1 point comes from, or any value you want. So now it's asking for player. Well, since this is a trigger entering an object, there is no player per se. So we're going to go to our actions, and we're going to scroll all the way down to the player category, and we want owner of object. And then we're going to, once we put that in a player spot, we're going to go and click on object from the top line, and we're going to replace our object there. So now we got owner of object. Now if we click where it says owner and hold it, we can actually use right on our D-pad to duplicate it into the next spot. Like so. And I always turn mine to true. I always delete the 0 as well on the next line. I can do the same thing with get persistent variable. Hold, duplicate down into that spot. And then player down here is the same thing for owner of object. So now we got the code we need, but it's not ready yet because we haven't done our variables. So once you have your menu open, you can go down to systems, and we're going to go to leaderboards, create leaderboard. On this page, all you have to do is give it a name for now. Points. Now, you can change this based on if you want to things like reset frequency is like if you want to do weekly, monthly leaderboards, and you can change that by choosing it, if you want daily, weekly, monthly. But I'm just going to leave mine on default. That's for all-time score, never resets. So create. Now we got that. Now we need a variable group. So with variable groups, we're going to create that. And this is also going to be a name. I usually make it the name of the world. So for this one, I'm just going to call it tutorial 2, because I already have a tutorial variable. If you have the same name as another world, it will be red. So you need to make sure that you don't have the same variable name as something else, which you can add a number or something if you do. And then you want to make sure you add to world. So turn that on. Create. Now it's the group is created, but you still have to create a persistent variable. So we're going to go ahead and create our variable. We can call this one points as well, just to keep it organized. Type, don't change it. Just hit save. Now that you got all that made, now you can come back to your script. You can select these variables, add them to it. Like so. You're just clicking and adding. And then this is your leaderboard variable. Click that one, points. Now we're done with the code part. Now the next thing you need to do is we need to go to our gizmos, grab a leaderboard, pull up the properties, and even though it shows your leaderboard here, it's not actually connected. So we're going to click it, and then we're going to click it again. So now it's fully connected, and if you want, you can change the title, how many people's on the page, and all that on that panel. So now if I go and score a basket, I'm now displaying on the leaderboard. So on a side note, I also wanted to add that sometimes you're also using a player variable. So, like, for example, let's say when trigger was entered by player, instead of owner of object, you would just use those player variables to get the point. So for this example, it could be a code that's like you're playing a parkour, and when you get to the end, you enter a trigger, and then it gives you a point for entering the trigger. But you want to remember that if it's a trigger and they keep entering it, they can get more than 1 point. So you may want to add like a respawn to a location after they get in that trigger and get the point. But that's another way. There's other ways of doing it as well, like having player variables. Like maybe some people use owner variables. I do. So like instead of having a player, maybe at some point I tracked an owner as a variable. Then I could just set the owner as well to get the point, and whoever that owner would be per se. But that's like further down the line, future tutorials when we get into stuff like that. This is just showing you that there's more than one way than owner of object to track the player variable, depending on what script you got going on.
In the world of horizons where creation shine bright, evil's worse the name, he's a beacon of light.